The first English colony in America came within days of disappearing forever. More than 400 years ago, long before the United States became a nation, a small wooden settlement stood quietly along the banks of the James River in Virginia. It was called Jamestown. Today, it is remembered as the beginning of English America. But in the winter of 1609, very few people believed it would survive. Tonight, we are not rushing through battles or dramatic moments. Instead, we are taking a slow and peaceful journey into everyday life, exploring what it was truly like to wake up, work, eat, and rest in America's very first permanent English colony. So, wherever you are, allow yourself to settle in. Take a slow, comfortable breath. Let your shoulders relax. There is nothing you need to solve tonight. Nothing you need to remember. Only a quiet walk through one small corner of history. And if these peaceful stories help you unwind after a long day, you're always welcome to subscribe and join us again. Now, let the noise of the modern world slowly fade away as we travel back to Virginia. In the year 1609, the morning begins before sunrise. A cool mist drifts gently across the James River. The water moves slowly, almost silently, reflecting the pale colors of the early sky. Small birds begin their morning songs somewhere beyond the trees. The forest seems endless. Tall oaks, towering pines, and thick cedar trees surround the tiny English settlement on nearly every side. Hidden among the branches are squirrels, woodpeckers, and countless other creatures beginning another ordinary day. Inside Jamestown, the colony is just beginning to wake. Thin streams of smoke rise from small chimneys. A few glowing embers remain from the night's cooking fires. The smell of damp wood mixes with the fresh morning air. The houses are simple. Built from rough timber cut from nearby forests, they stand close together inside the wooden fort. None are large. None are luxurious. Most have dirt floors. Their walls offer little protection from the cold winds that arrive with winter. Every nail, every plank, every roof tells the story of a settlement still struggling to find its place in a new world. Only 2 years earlier, in 1607, 3 English ships had sailed into these waters. Their names were Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery. After crossing the Atlantic Ocean, more than 100 settlers stepped onto unfamiliar land with great hopes for the future. Many believed they would quickly discover gold. Others dreamed of becoming wealthy through trade. Some simply wanted a fresh beginning far from England. The Virginia Company had promised opportunity. Reality turned out to be much quieter and much harder. The land was beautiful. The river offered fish. The forests provided timber. Wildlife was everywhere. Yet almost everything required patience. Every meal had to be earned. Every building had to be constructed by hand. Every day demanded careful planning. There were no stores, no roads, no comfortable inns, no nearby towns waiting to offer help. Jamestown stood alone. As the first light reaches the settlement, a few settlers quietly leave their homes. One carries a bundle of firewood gathered the day before. Another walks towards the well with 2 wooden buckets. Someone else carefully sharpens a worn iron axe before another long day of cutting timber. The sounds are gentle. Footsteps across packed earth, the soft crackle of fire, birds calling from distant trees, the quiet splash of water against the riverbank. Life here moves slowly. There is little reason to hurry. Every task takes time. Every simple success feels important. Breakfast is modest. If supplies are available, Settlers might eat a little porridge made from grain brought from England. Sometimes there is salted meat, sometimes dried peas. On fortunate mornings, fresh fish caught from the river add something different to the meal. No one knows exactly what the day will bring. The weather changes often. Supplies continue to grow smaller. And winter has only just begun. Beyond the wooden walls, the wilderness stretches farther than anyone can imagine. The settlers know they are only guests in this land. For countless generations before English ships appeared on the horizon, the Powhatan people had lived beside these rivers and forests. They understood the changing seasons, the rivers, the animals, and the forests in ways the newcomers did not. The English settlement may seem permanent from a distance, but in truth, it is still fragile, like a small island of wood surrounded by an ocean of wilderness. Standing here on this cold Virginia morning, no one can yet imagine that this ordinary day is quietly leading toward one of the hardest winters in early American history. As the morning grows brighter, Jamestown slowly settles into its daily rhythm. There are no church bells marking the hours, no busy streets filled with wagons, no markets crowded with voices, only the steady sounds of people working together to keep a small colony alive. Every person has something to do. Some repair the wooden walls that protect the settlement. Others carry heavy logs from the nearby forest. A blacksmith stands beside a glowing fire, carefully shaping iron tools that have already been used countless times. Every hammer strike echoes softly through the fort. Nothing is wasted. A broken nail is saved. A worn piece of leather is stitched together again. A cracked wooden bucket is repaired instead of replaced. Supplies from England are precious. No one knows when another ship might arrive. The settlers have learned that even the smallest object can become important. A strong rope, a sharp knife, a dry blanket. These simple things bring comfort in ways that are easy to overlook today. Near the edge of the fort, a carpenter carefully measures a new wooden beam. His hands move slowly and patiently. There are no machines to help him. Every board must be cut by hand. Every post must fit securely into the ground. Building even a small shelter can take many days. Beyond the walls, the James River continues its quiet journey toward the Atlantic Ocean. The river is the colony's lifeline. It provides fish. It offers a way for ships to arrive. It supplies fresh water, although not always as clean as the settlers would like. Small boats drift gently across its surface. A few men lower simple fishing lines into the calm water. They wait patiently. There is no hurry. Nature moves at its own pace. Some days the river is generous. Other days it offers very little. Nearby, several women prepare the day's meals using simple iron pots suspended over open fires. The menu rarely changes. Salted meat, if any remains. Dried peas, oatmeal, occasionally fish, sometimes a little bread baked from flour that grows scarcer each week. Fresh fruit is uncommon during winter. Vegetables are limited. Every meal reminds the settlers how far they are from home. Yet they continue. They laugh quietly from time to time. They share stories from England. They remember familiar villages, green fields, and family members left behind across the Atlantic. Those memories bring warmth that no fire can provide. As the afternoon passes, children can sometimes be seen helping with simple tasks, carrying water, gathering sticks for the evening fires, watching over small gardens that now lie dormant beneath the cold season. Life teaches responsibility at an early age. Every pair of hands matters. Every small contribution helps the colony endure another day. From the watchtower, a guard quietly scans the distant tree line. His duty is long and often uneventful. Most hours pass in silence. He watches the forests sway gently in the wind. Birds glide overhead. Clouds drift slowly across the Virginia sky. Sometimes he notices members of the Powhatan Confederacy moving through the distant woods. They know this land well. They travel with confidence where the English settlers still feel uncertain. At times, the two communities trade peacefully. Corn for metal tools, food for simple goods. These moments of cooperation help both sides, but trust remains fragile. Misunderstandings are never far away. As daylight begins to fade, the temperature drops once again. Smoke rises from dozens of small fires. Families gather inside their wooden homes. Candles flicker gently against rough timber walls. Outside, the forest grows quiet. The sounds of daytime slowly disappear. Another winter night settles over Jamestown. The settlers do not yet realize that each passing day is bringing them closer to a season that history will remember as the starving time. For now, they simply close their doors, tend their fires, and hope that tomorrow will be just a little easier than today. As autumn quietly fades into winter, the days become noticeably shorter. The warm sunlight that once lingered over the James River now disappears much earlier in the afternoon. Cold winds move gently through the tall trees surrounding the settlement. Each morning begins with a layer of frost resting on the wooden rooftops. The settlers pull their coats a little tighter before stepping outside. Smoke rises from every chimney, disappearing into the pale gray sky. Keeping a fire alive has become one of the most important jobs in Jamestown. Without warmth, even simple daily tasks become difficult. Firewood must be gathered every day. The stacks beside each house slowly grow smaller. The colony's food stores are changing as well. Barrels that once seemed full now feel surprisingly light. Flour is measured more carefully. Salted meat is divided into smaller portions. Every meal becomes a quiet exercise in making limited supplies last one more day. No one complains very loudly. Everyone understands the situation. The Atlantic Ocean lies thousands of miles away. Ships cannot simply appear whenever they are needed. Weather, distance, and time decide everything. During calmer evenings, many settlers gather around small fires inside their homes. Someone quietly tells stories about England. Another remembers the sound of church bells from a distant village. Some speak of green fields. Others remember family members they hope to see again one day. These conversations bring comfort. They remind everyone that life once felt familiar. Outside, the Virginia wilderness remains calm. Snow is still uncommon this far south, but the cold is constant. Bare branches stretch across the quiet sky. The marshes become still. Even the birds seem fewer than before. Fishing becomes less reliable. Hunting requires longer journeys into unfamiliar forests. Every successful trip is welcomed with quiet gratitude. Every unsuccessful trip means another difficult evening. Inside the fort, work never truly stops. The walls need repairs. Roofs must be checked for leaks. Wells must remain usable. Broken tools are repaired again and again. There is little room for waste. A single iron nail, a piece of cloth, a wooden bowl. Each object is treated with care. As the weeks pass, the settlers begin to notice another challenge. Many had arrived with dreams of finding gold. Some had spent valuable time searching rivers and streams instead of growing crops during the warmer months. Now, winter quietly reminds everyone that survival depends not on treasure, but on preparation. Nature follows its own rules. It rewards patience. It offers little to those who ignore its seasons. By late December, the colony feels much quieter than before. Fewer voices fill the narrow paths between the houses. People conserve their energy. They work only as much as necessary. Long hours are spent sitting beside small fires, carefully preserving strength for another day. The James River continues its steady journey toward the sea. It flows exactly as it did before the settlers arrived, and exactly as it will long after they are gone. Watching the slow-moving water brings a surprising sense of peace. For a few quiet moments, it is possible to forget the uncertainty that hangs over the settlement. Yet history tells us that the hardest weeks have not yet arrived. The winter of 1609 is only beginning. In the months ahead, this peaceful little colony will face challenges unlike anything its settlers had imagined when they first crossed the Atlantic. And still, each evening, they quietly close their doors, add another piece of wood to the fire, and hope that morning will bring better news. By January, winter has settled completely over Jamestown. The mornings feel colder now. A quiet layer of frost covers the ground before sunrise. The settlement moves more slowly than it did only a few months before. There is less conversation, less movement. Even the sounds of daily work seem softer. Inside the storehouse, the remaining food is counted again. The numbers bring little comfort. Every barrel is opened carefully. Every sack of grain is measured by hand. The colony's leaders know that each small portion must last as long as possible. Around the cooking fires, meals have become remarkably simple. A little grain, a little broth. Occasionally, a small piece of salted meat, if any, still remains. Hunger is now a familiar companion. Yet each evening, people continue to gather quietly around the warmth of the fire. They speak softly. They share memories of England. Someone remembers the sound of rain on a cottage roof. Another remembers walking through green fields in spring. These simple conversations help pass the long winter nights. Outside the fort, the forests remain beautiful. Tall trees sway gently in the cold wind. The James River continues its endless journey toward the sea. Nature itself has not become cruel. It simply follows its seasons, just as it always has. For the settlers, however, every day now requires patience. Hunting parties travel farther into the wilderness than before. Sometimes they return with food. Sometimes they return empty-handed. Fishing is no longer dependable. The gardens that had offered hope during warmer months now rest quietly beneath winter's chill. Supplies from England have not arrived. The Atlantic remains unimaginably far away. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Historians would later give this season a simple name: the starving time. It remains one of the most difficult chapters in the history of early English America. Many settlers did not survive the winter. The colony grew smaller with each passing week. Houses that had once been filled with conversation became quiet. The narrow paths between the buildings seemed almost empty. Even so, those who remained continued their daily routines. Each morning, they gathered firewood. They repaired damaged roofs. They protected the wooden walls. They cared for one another as best they could. They refused to believe that Jamestown's story had already come to an end. During long evenings, they looked toward the river. Every distant shape on the horizon inspired quiet hope. Could it be another ship? Could help finally be coming? Most days the answer was no. The river flowed peacefully beneath grey skies. Only the wind disturbed its calm surface. Yet hope remained. Sometimes hope was the only thing the settlers still possessed. Unknown to them, change was slowly approaching. Across the Atlantic Ocean, new ships had already begun their journey. They carried fresh supplies, new settlers, and the possibility that Jamestown might survive after all. But for now, on these cold winter evenings, the colony waited patiently, surrounded by quiet forests, beside the slow-moving James River, wondering what tomorrow might bring, till last, almost without anyone noticing, winter begins to loosen its quiet grip. The mornings remain cool, but the sunlight lingers a little longer each day. Small birds return to the branches above the fort. Gentle breezes carry the scent of damp earth instead of bitter cold. Along the banks of the James River, tiny signs of spring begin to appear. New leaves slowly unfold. Wild grasses push through the soil. The forest, silent for so many weeks, seems to wake once again. The settlers notice these small changes. They're quiet reminders that every season, no matter how difficult, eventually comes to an end. Then, one morning, someone standing watch over the river notices something unusual. Far in the distance, a sail. At first, it is only a small white shape against the horizon. Slowly, almost silently, it grows larger. A ship is making its way toward Jamestown. For those who have waited through the long winter, the sight brings cautious hope. The colony has endured months of uncertainty. Food has been scarce. The cold has tested every person who remained. Yet Jamestown is still here. The arrival of new supplies and additional settlers offers the colony another chance. Recovery will not happen overnight. Many challenges still lie ahead. There will be more difficult seasons, more disagreements, more moments when the future feels uncertain. But the settlement has survived its hardest winter. Looking back today, it is remarkable how fragile everything once was. The beginnings of English America were not built by grand cities or magnificent buildings. They began with rough wooden homes, muddy paths, simple meals, and ordinary people trying their best to adapt to an unfamiliar land. History often remembers famous names, captains, governors, explorers, but most of the people who lived in Jamestown were simply men and women hoping for a better future. They woke before sunrise, carried water, chopped firewood, repaired broken tools, cooked modest meals, watched the changing seasons, and quietly hoped for another peaceful day. More than 4 centuries have passed since those mornings beside the James River. Today, the forests are different. Modern roads cross the landscape. Visitors walk through carefully preserved archaeological sites where the colony once stood. Yet, if you pause for a moment and imagine the sound of the river, the gentle wind moving through the trees, and the soft crackle of a small fire, it becomes easier to picture the quiet world those settlers once knew. Jamestown was never guaranteed to survive. Its future remained uncertain for many years, and perhaps that is why its story continues to be remembered, not because everything went according to plan, but because people continued moving forward, one quiet day at a time. As our journey comes to an end, allow that peaceful image to remain with you. A calm river at sunrise, gentle birdsong in the distance, a small wooden settlement resting beneath the Virginia sky, the worries of another day slowly drifting away like morning mist over the water. Thank you for spending this quiet evening exploring the early history of America with me. If you enjoyed this peaceful journey, I'd be delighted if you joined us again for another relaxing walk through history. Until next time, sleep well, and may your night be peaceful.